the American people see it, and they're feeling the results. They feel safer. They feel like more money's coming into their pockets. They're more optimistic over the last 6 months of President Trump being in office.
Most definitely. So let's bring in our political panel to discuss and break it all down. Raymond Lopez is alderman of Chicago, and LaToya Nkongolo is a Project 21 ambassador. So great to have you this morning, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
So President Trump has surpassed his first 6 months in office with great accomplishments. Even the left-leaning outlets can't help but to celebrate his incredible accomplishments. Would love to hear your thoughts. Let's start with you, LaToya.
Well, I just want to say that this is a win for America. You know, promises made, promises kept. I think we were long overdue for aggressive leadership, bold leadership, and that's what we're getting. So, you know, we're all reaping the benefits of it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is such a remarkable 6 months, Raymond, in terms of what we've seen from this administration. You'd think it would be over an entire term. But President Trump has really followed through on just about everything. So in terms of the Democrats and their strategy as to trying to take down the Republican Party, it's just not working. Even coming forward with the Jeffrey Epstein docs and asking for clarity, and we all know the reason they're doing that is political, but it's not working. The poll numbers are showing otherwise. Republicans are more united than ever, also because the Democrats are so far left. So your take on this as a Democrat?
Well, I think many Democrats are struggling to find their place in this new political landscape that they find themselves. Look, Donald Trump came back into office 6 months ago. He didn't need to find where the bathrooms are. He already knew where everyone's office was. He went right to work.
Yes.
And he's been going straight to work ever since. And he has delivered on everything that he promised, whether you like his promises or not. The Democrats, on the other hand, have just been basically whining from the sidelines, not being able to come up with a countermeasure to what he's doing, which is remarkable considering the Democratic brain trust that exists out there in the political universe. They should be coming up with a message. They should be focusing on those kitchen table issues in the same way that the Republicans were, and reminding people that the Democratic Party is the party of the safety net, the party of the working people. Unfortunately, they pivoted to being the party of the elites, which nobody cares about anymore. And they better figure it out fast because the midterms are coming up, as well as the eventual presidential race in 2028.
Yeah, very fast. Why? Because situations are still occurring in various places in America, including New York City.
Yeah.
A story over the weekend unfolded with regard to, you know what, an off-duty Border Patrol agent was shot during a botched robbery. The person of interest has been identified as Miguel Mora, a 21-year-old illegal migrant with an extensive criminal past. You know, LaToya, the thing is that there are constant reminders that of what Biden-Harris did over that 4-year period that President Trump is cleaning up. But in a city like New York City, a deep blue city, there needs to be common sense government at the local level to work with the federal level so that way we can eradicate these type of situations. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that New York is so out of touch with the rest of America, the average American. We want safe communities. You know, what ICE is doing is upholding the rule of law. And what they're doing is complete opposite of that, which is going to be detrimental to New York. And if the rest of the United States follow suit, you know, we're all going to be in crime-ridden communities. So this is not fair to any of us. And New York is setting a bad precedent for what could potentially be for the rest of America.
Yeah, it's really a problem of the Democrats' own making, Raymond. And I know you have seen what's occurred in your city, Chicago, of how the illegal migrants have really taken over, whether it's providing fentanyl to young children or just, you know, a lack of law and order, targeting CBP agents, as well as ICE. We've seen attacks on ICE increase 830%. This number, I mean, this is a staggering percentage that they are completely targeted and doxxed, even by elected officials.
Yeah, we've seen even in cities like the city of Chicago, where some of my colleagues have tried to introduce laws requiring or pushing for ICE to unmask themselves. Look, we have individuals who are dangerous to our communities. We have individuals who come here from foreign countries who were not thoroughly vetted, who should have been never allowed in, who have been granted asylum and temporary protective status. And we need to address that. And I think that this should not be a partisan issue. Keeping communities safe, keeping our borders secure and our nation secure should not be a partisan issue. Yet we see the Democrats fail time and time again. And even at a time when a majority of Americans want immigrants to come to our country the right way, Democrats find a way to trip over themselves and say, well, let's start with the criminals first. Let's start with those who are committing the most heinous crimes, who have the most heinous backgrounds. And that's, again, one of those issues that they're going to keep failing and tripping themselves up on as they go into the midterms.
So true. Well, President Trump keeps stacking wins. He keeps on winning. 10 Americans were freed over the weekend in a prisoner swap between the U.S., El Salvador, and Venezuela.
The president has been very clear. Bringing Americans home is a critical priority. We don't accept when other countries take people. Now, President Bukele has been a good friend enough to know what's important to the United States. And so we appreciate the fact that he cleared a deal with Venezuela to release these Americans that came home.
That's Special Envoy Adam Bowler stating that the U.S. does not accept when other countries take people. The thing is, we know that Americans are valuable. All lives are valuable, but don't mess with our people. What say you, LaToya?
I'm with you. Don't mess with our people. And I think that, Trump has an advantage because he's a great negotiator. That's what makes a true leader. And he can come to the table and talk to anyone. And on the end, and at the end of the day, Americans win.
Right. Well, maybe that's why ABC's Martha Raddatz is coming to terms with it. And in an interview, she interviewed an immigration advocate on her thoughts about deportations.
What would you say to people who say, look, they're not here legally, they have to leave, they should have waited in line?
Well, to those people, I don't care to conversate to those people. Our community is devoting our time to the people who are rallying up with us.
Interesting take there. Raymond, your thoughts on this?
Sadly, that is the indoctrination that we see of our youth, oftentimes coming from many of the teachers' unions who tell people that you don't need to have conversations with those you disagree with, that you don't have to talk to those who you have issues with, and that you don't have to follow the rule of law, that you could just do whatever you want because you are a disadvantaged group. That is not the American way, and we have to start standing up to that. We have to start calling that out. And shame on Martha for not saying, well, why are you not willing to talk to those in this country? That is exactly what this country was founded on, being able to bring different ideas together out of one many. And if you're not able to understand that, then we have some serious issues here.
Yes, the serious issues keep piling up. Obama, well, he's popped up lately. Why? Because DNI's Tulsi Gabbard has announced there are new documents showing that Obama's intel community launched a treasonous conspiracy against President Trump. This is a bombshell. It shows that perhaps the president, 44, knew everything about this scam, this false dossier, this narrative that was launched as he was leaving office. What say you, LaToya?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? This is the year of truth. I mean, I think that there are so many things that are coming out that need to come out. And I think that America is starting to wake up. We're starting to see all of the corruption and lies that happens behind the scenes. Me being in a legislator, I know how the sausage is made. Unfortunately, the average citizen doesn't know that. But, this is the time for now these things to come to light and for Americans to be truly aware of, what has gone on behind the scenes for so long.
Yeah. Well, to John's point, this was a bombshell, Raymond, and the information that's coming out shows that the Democrats were involved in election interference. The fact that they tried to create a dossier of information that just wasn't there. And we had our intelligence officers, whether it's James Clapper, Comey, John Brennan, they were all colluding together to create some conspiracy that was ultimately used as a weapon against President Trump in terms of his campaign in 2016. And then again, once he was in office, they used that to distract and to try to take him off his path to implement his policies. So what Do you think this is worth pursuing? Many people are skeptical that, yes, oh no, it's in the past. We should not look backwards. Ultimately, this won't end up in prosecutions. But it certainly, to LaToya's point, brings a lot of accountability and sheds a lot of light on the issue.
Well, I'm sure the delegate and I can both agree on how dirty politics can be, especially elections. But at a certain point, you have to consider where your values are. And if you're willing to fabricate misinformation to win and to defeat your opponent, you are going from being the good guys to the bad guys. And unfortunately, we need to figure out what, for the sake of Obama's legacy, if that's true or not. And if it's not true, then dispel it and cast it aside. But if there is some truth to it, we do not want to set this precedent in politics where we weaponize government for the purposes of defeating our enemies. We have to allow for free flow of information, discussion, and ideas, but do it in the right way and not just try to manipulate facts just to create a negative spin piece on those who you don't want to win or to succeed you.
LaToya, I was actually surprised about the narrative that started building in January 2017. I attended a Wall Street Project Rainbow Push Coalition annual meeting here in New York City. And after one of the forums, Jesse Jackson stood up and started calling it Russian collusion and going with this narrative. And I was like, where's this coming from? Jesse Jackson is running with this? Then I started hearing other people, and it's almost like they got the same playbook. And you know what? I'm not really concerned about Russia. I think we have a strong military and we have strong intel and so forth. I'm really concerned about the inside job and the inside actors. And it reminds me of what President Trump ran on the first time around. Drain the swamp. Why? Because we have Clapper, Comey, and Brennan and others like them still in D.C.
And you're right. I mean, it's in DC, it's at the state level, it's at the local level. And, I agree with the alderman is that, when people are in an echo chamber and they're only hearing one side, and people take advantage of that. They only give you a narrative that they want to push because it advances their agenda. And if we don't now start to do our own research and understand it for ourselves, then that's how you get indoctrinated and brainwashed. And that narrative spreads like wildfire. Once they get it out there and they spread the message, it goes far and wide. And this is dangerous to us as American citizens, us coming together, being able to come to the table, find common ground. And now we're having to deal with what go on behind the scenes, which is, impacting all of us negatively. It's a dangerous game.
Yeah, a game of power and corruption.
Yeah, and also degrades the American public's trust in our intelligence officials, trying to think that you would never imagine that someone would try to undermine the president of the United States in this way. I mean, it's frankly, it's treasonous, Raymond, because ultimately when you're trying to prevent a president from carrying out what he intends to do, even just from running. I mean, they were spying on the Trump campaign. They were spying on Carter Page. They were lying to the FISA court, lying to Congress. I mean, these are blatant lies. Is it just a matter of them actually believing their lies? Because the information that was there, there was no there. There was no Russia collusion, yet this was exactly what everyone was running with.
No, I don't necessarily think that this was a lapse of moral license. And the Obama team and everyone felt that they were the good guys and that they had to do whatever they needed to do to undermine someone who they didn't feel worthy to sit in that chair. But elections have consequences, and Donald Trump won. Hillary Clinton ran an okay campaign, but Donald Trump ran a better one, and he won. And you can't be angry at how the people voted because of it. And his message still resonates. And if you continue down this path, what we see is you'll see the erosion in faith in government, as the delegate mentioned, in the same way that we saw the erosion in the faith of media, excuse me, where we saw so many of the news outlets, mainstream media, repeating the same headlines and storylines as if it was spoon-fed to them. And once you lose that faith, damage could be irreparable.
But it's not just undermining the opposition or the opposing party. it's also the corruption when Biden was in office with regard to the auto pen and covering up his failing mental faculties and so many other things. So this is really about power and corruption.
Yeah, and the mainstream media, I'm sure, if we're looking today, they're not going to be covering this story. So that's exactly why we have to do it here. But appreciate both of your time, Raymond Lopez, LaToya, Nkongolo. Great to have you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.